we're going to start losing buyers.
I believe that NES will be the new Atari.
Now all those stores are online. Having a brick and mortar is tough, and I don't think it's for everyone. Has it been worth it? We'll see.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am having an interview with Cruz from Cruz'N Retro here in Central Connecticut.
Yeah.
And my brother, thank you for being on the channel.
I appreciate it. Thank you for actually reaching out and asking to interview me. It's the first time for me, so.
Well, it's gonna be dope. Everyone's gonna love you at the end of the interview for sure. So my first question that I ask everyone is, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
All right, so Ramses Cruz. Everyone knows me as Cruz in the industry. Obviously, I have a day job. I don't do the video game thing full time. This is like a side hustle for retirement. So I have a day job. The store was something that I wanted to build to have something in the future, right? People retire and they don't have a plan. So I'm 40. I want to have a plan moving on from when I retire. The store in general has been open since August of last year. So about a year now. Besides that, man, I love video games. I love collecting video games, toys, anything nostalgia based from our era of growing up, you know, early 90s. I'm down for it and love that era.
Dope. And you're fairly new to owning your own store, correct?
Correct. Yes, it's been a year. August was a year for me.
What do you do for your day job?
So my day job, I'm a general manager at a wheel company called Wheel Pros. We're the largest aftermarket wheel and tire distributor in the United States. You know, been doing that for a very long time. Been with the company for 10 years, but have been doing that part of the industry, selling aftermarket wheels, for 20 years now.
What inspired you to create your own brick and mortar in the collector's market?
So a ton of things influenced it, right? Like as a collector, and when you're a collector, you're always like grabbing everything, right? Just so you can use for trade or collateral for you know, just generating money so that you have a cash flow for your collection. So I've always had a big overflow of inventory just because I've always tried to have stuff to trade or create cash flow for my personal collection. I have a friend that owns a video game store / retro nostalgia store as well. And him and my wife were kind of like the big push for me. Like I've always had a passion for this community. I've always wanted to do something. But you know, just like everything, when you're putting your own money into it, it's that fear of failure. So I've always had that fear of failing, doing something and failing. So I never jumped into it. But over the last like 2 years, like I sat down and talked about it more and kind of like the idea realized a little bit more, but just waiting for the right opportunity. So my wife and my buddy like really pushed me into it. But long story short, I just got lucky. Right place, right time. This facility where we're at now was a card shop. During COVID, it was a Pokemon sports card shop. The owner reached out to me. I was one of his regulars and said, hey, listen, I'm trying to get out of the business. I want to sell the lease and the inventory. It was a perfect opportunity for me to take the space and just create the store. The pricing on what was involved to get this location was the right amount to just push me to be like, maybe I should just do it and take that leap of faith and get the store running.
And I'm sure 100% it was worth the risk of you testing the waters in your own business.
Yes. So this industry, like owning a brick and mortar, is not for everyone. I don't like. I recommend you can get into the reselling business, but having a physical location it's not for everyone. Not everyone's built for this part of the business. Has it been worth it? Yes. Have there been times over the past year where I'm like, I shouldn't have even opened this place up? Yes. But now that I'm so deep into it, I have a good clientele base now that I've built over the year, for me, yes, it's well worth it. Again, like I said, though, it's having a brick and mortar is tough, and I don't think it's for everyone. You got to be really prepared for it.
Correct. Advertising and things like that.
Yeah, correct.
As well. How did you let everyone know that you established a collectible store?
Okay,
in the
so
area?
when I first started the store, it was obviously promoting through Instagram, Facebook, just getting the name out. The biggest turn of customer base was going to the conventions, going to every little toy, what meetup, swap meet, anything that had to do with nostalgia base that was either a convention, a show, comic book, anything. I would just go hand out my business cards. Hey, like, listen, there's a new store in town. And obviously in Central Connecticut, we really don't have a ton of nostalgia based businesses. Even retro video game stores, we have about 4 to 5 of us only. So there was an opportunity in the market. So just going out and just doing the old school way, man, just handing out posters, handing out business cards. And then obviously with the help of the community, just people spreading the word. Again, like I said, I'm going to mention my buddy a lot, but everyone that goes to his store, he always mentions my place. Like, you got to go see. So that has helped a ton, and it's brought business my way just from him promoting. Again, the community is without the community, I don't think I would be here. So,
have you ever sold anything prior to opening a brick and mortar in terms of like anything within this niche?
So, very little. Like, I held on to a lot of stuff just for trade. I did a little bit of eBay, but not. Maybe 20 total items in my whole time that I've been a collector prior to the store. Did I really sell anything? Obviously, I used a lot of it just for trade-ins, going to stores and just trading in the extra overflow stuff, right? At the time, we were getting stuff so cheap with the Goodwills and thrift stores like that had stuff for cheap. Now all those stores are online. They're taking all that product and putting it on their own online store. So it's made that part of the business a little bit difficult. But yeah, it was mostly just keeping the stuff for trade. Like I said, maybe like 20 items on eBay ever that I ever sell prior to owning the store.
And as a store owner, what process, like, in your mind told you, let me open a brick and mortar rather than sell online without any overhead costs and employees? Because you say you have a day job, of course.
Correct.
And you obviously had to pay someone else to be here.
Correct.
Present.
Yeah.
And you are closed twice a week, Sundays and Mondays, correct?
Correct. Yep. Twice a week.
So a full-time job for maybe 1 or 2 people.
Correct.
Why take on the burden of paying a utility rather than do it from home?
So I felt that doing it from home, for me, obviously my situation, again, like I said, I ran into it. It was the perfect storm. I got offered this place to buy outright, and then I converted it to this. For me, luckily, I have family members that run the location for me, which makes it easy, right? It's a family-owned business. It's run by my family. With eyes closed, I know my inventory, everything's going to be okay. I took the brick mortar way of things just because of the price of opening the store. It was silly not to. Like, we won't go into details of what I'm paying here, but it just
no-brainer.
It was a no-brainer, right? So that was one of the biggest things for me. It was like the overhead. With the numbers I ran, if I can hit this number, I would have cash flow for inventory and paying my family member and just the overhead on the store. So that was the biggest thing. And just, I like the interaction with people. Obviously, I love the community. I love growing the community. The easiest way to connect and grow in this industry is with interaction, right? So you can have an eBay store and you can be great at doing eBay. And eBay also takes a lot of time, right? Where I don't have that time to photo op, list stuff all day. I don't have that time just because my 9 to 5 is a 9 to 5. I'm there from 6 in the morning to 5 o'clock, right? So what I do for the store is when I get home, I chill with the family. As soon as the kids are put to bed, I get to go downstairs for an hour or two, inventory that I need to bring to the store. I clean up. New inventory comes to the store usually on Saturdays, just because I work Saturdays at the store. So it just, the time and effort to run this for me felt a lot easier than allocating a bunch of time to running an eBay store or Mercari store or whatever it may be, posting stuff online. This was just easier. I could drop stuff off. I have my sister take care of it, and I could trust her where she can take in trade-ins and work everything herself. And she's not calling me 1,000 times a day like, what do you think about this, right? So that's why I went the brick and mortar way, just because it just made sense. And for me, I just don't have the time to do the listing and
it's
all
very
that.
Time consuming.
Yes, very time consuming. It's a whole job. It's a whole 9 to 5 when you're a true like eBay store. So I can't have 2 9 to 5. So
completely understood. And
yeah,
it's good that you have people you can trust, family-owned
correct
business. So you know what I mean, there's nothing better than having closer people to
correct
operate the entire
makes
establishment.
it definitely makes it easy.
For sure. When looking around the store, there's a lot of vintage toys, VHS clamshells, Pokemon cards, which you did say that you jumped into a Pokemon store previously.
Correct.
But what do you identify your store as, having a bunch of like different niches?
So I base it a nostalgia based store. Obviously, like even if you look at my video games, I hardly have newer console stuff, just because I will take it in on trade-ins, but it's not what I'm really focused on. My whole focus, even as a video game store, is nostalgia based stuff, right? So NES up to like 360, you know, PS2 eras where I really want to be, or PS3 era is where I really want to be. PS4, Xbox One stuff, if it comes as, yes, I'm going to take it. Obviously, I'm a video game store. Wherever I can make money, I'm going to take. But my focus is on nostalgia base. So everything that I have in the store with the retro toys, the VHSs, which is now becoming a huge market, is I just wanted my store to be a nostalgia based business where you walked in, it tickled that nostalgia, that childhood memory. Like you could find something here that's like, oh man, I remember, you know, watching that movie with my dad, or my mom used to read the Goosebumps books to me, like Scholastic school fairs or whatever it may be, right? Or with the toys, like I remember having these Toy Biz like X-Men stuff or He-Man or Thundercats, whatever it may be. Like I just want it to be like when you come in, it's just a smack of nostalgia, you know. That's my target ideal thing with the store is nostalgia based.
For someone that has different types of collectible items, right? I wouldn't say it's like too difficult to understand different markets, especially with values. How do you how do you get so used to knowing several markets at one time?
So it's a learning process, just like everything else, right? And again, I go back, I'm going to mention this a lot, the community, right? Like if you have friends in different parts of the community, because the toy community is a totally different community. The video game community is different. Even the media, the media community is a totally different community. Just being connected to different people, you can learn a ton of stuff from it, right? And a lot of it is trial and error. Like sometimes just like everyone, when you're first starting, you overpay for stuff not knowing, you know, like this color shirt was actually more and I paid for that value, but it was really the other, you know, it's just silly stuff like that. It's just trial and error, but just doing it over time and doing your research and just like sitting at home and watching YouTube videos, watching the guys that do this on a constant basis and learning from them, because there's so much knowledge out there that you can get for free. Just learning little by little, just watching videos, talking to the people in the community has helped out a ton. There's still a ton more I need to learn, especially with the toy end of things, just because that is such a broad market. Like with the video games, is once you see it once, you've seen it all. Video games are pretty easy unless you're looking at the super rare, and the super rare in a lifetime of a store owner or in your collecting lifetime, you might run into it once or twice, like on the bigger hits. But everything else is very easy, and there's price charting, eBay, you can find that stuff pretty easy. With the toys, it makes it a lot harder because variants, release dates, toy lines that, like, I've run into toy lines that I didn't even know existed, right? Because with the toy industry, there was so many up and coming, then disappeared, up and coming, disappeared, opened up, disappeared. And there's like toy lines that had like very limited runs and just went away, right? That it's tough to gauge that when you bring it in. It's like, what's the true value of it? So I would say out of everything, the toys is probably the hardest thing to put your finger on price wise. VHSs are pretty easy. And again, video game stuff, there's so much.
Anything with the barcode is
you can scan it and run with it. Yeah.
Gotcha. And being that your store is not on the road, right? Like,
correct.
It's not facing the road.
Correct.
And of course, you said that the community already knows you, social
correct.
media, word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
But those who are trying to trade in their games, right? How often does that happen in a place like this?
So luckily for me, obviously, since I built a rapport with the area, and again, there aren't too many. What helps me too, even though I'm off the side of the road, where unless you really know me, you're not gonna find me, because we don't have that many competitors in the area, and we kind of share the wealth. So if like I can't take something in, I'll send them somewhere else, or if someone can't take, they send them to me. So just because of that, it's been easier for people to come in and get trade-ins. I would say on a week-to-week basis, 5 to 10 trade-ins. Out of those 5 to 10 trade-ins weekly for me, like 2 or 3 of them are decent ones where I say are good trade-ins. But it's constant. Like I get constant. Are they dry spells? Yes, just like every business. Sometimes it's tough, and then I have to do extra work, go out there, Facebook Marketplace, do all the regular stuff on trying to get inventory, because you can't go to a wholesaler here with our industry and like, hey, give me 200 of these games, right? So it's always the hunt. And for me, really, the hunt is what keeps me going. Is my passion is finding the stuff. Like coming into the store is easy, right? Like it's made it easy for me, but I don't want to lose that part of being an owner, is the hunting part, like going out and trying to find stuff. So has it been hard being off the side of the road? Yes. Moving forward, it's going to be a lot easier. We haven't talked about that yet, but yeah, it'll be a lot easier for me. But yeah, off the road is a little bit tough, but the community, I've built that base. It's been pretty easy for me to get trade-ins here.
Do you ever worry about having a lack of sourcing at all, and then like in the previous months in terms of?
Yes. I mean, that's the fear for every reseller, right? Like even people that are connected, right, that have your regulars that go out there and hunt for you and call you all the time. There are dry spells, right? Like it's not always going to be constant where you're getting inventory. And even when you get trade-ins, it might not be the right type of inventory, right, that's moving at the time. But yes, I that's a fear all the time. Like, am I going to be able to source enough to keep it going for the next few months? I always try to have enough inventory where I feel safe for, like, I prepare like if it's a holiday season all the time. So I want to have that amount of inventory back stock, just because I also like to rotate inventory at the store too. Like if things feel like it's stagnant, I like to pull that out, take it back, put it in my storage, and bring new stuff in. So I try not to be one of those stores where it's just stuff being stagnant and it's just sitting there for a long time.
Right, you need a consistent flow.
Yeah, you need fresh, right? Because if you stay stagnant, people stop coming in. So you got to have a consistent flow of new stuff, and sometimes it means pulling that stuff out, especially with the space I have at this location. Sometimes I just got to pull inventory out, bring new inventory in, and then just hope that that'll attract new buyers, right? Luckily for me, we talked about this while we were off camera. I'm still at over 50% new customer base at the end of the month when I run my numbers. I'm still generating new customer base, which is which is huge for obviously a new business. I'm still established. I'm nowhere near established. I'm still building. I say you're not an established store until you make it to like the 5-year point where you've been around, you know, a long time. So 1 year in, I'm not established yet, but it's good to see when I run my numbers that 50% of my business is still new customer base. So that's been huge for me.
Well, being a new business, I mean, your store is pretty stocked up, and
Yeah.
I actually like the space. It's
Okay.
consolidated.
Yeah,
You know, I don't think a store has to be massive
Correct.
for it to be appealing to
Correct.
your everyday customer.
Correct.
Honestly, I think a huge space is a little too overwhelming for
Yeah.
someone that's just looking for a copy of Grand Theft Auto.
correct.
You know what I mean? But for starting off, you know, your year into your business, I think your store looks great, bro.
I appreciate it. Thank
It's
you.
definitely well organized. I like that you completely cut off your games
Yeah,
from your vintage toys.
correct. Yeah.
I like that space.
Yeah,
'Cause-
so that was the idea, right? So like if being in a smaller location, you're trying to work with the space you have available, right? So I figured if I can divide the two spaces where it's toys in one room and video games and cards in another room, then if the store is packed, like people could still divide and go check out that stuff and then be here checking out this stuff if this is what they came for, right? And it's not a cluttered area. And I wanted a flow, even though it's a small space, you have a flow into the store where you can walk in and it doesn't feel overwhelming, overwhelming space. I'm very, very particular of the way I wanted it laid out. So like if you see it, it's very organized. And I just feel like a clean like presentation goes a long way. Where if you go to a lot of other stores, like they're cluttered, and it feels like people get overwhelmed with clutter. So I just wanted to be more streamlined and clean.
And everything's alphabetized. So
Yeah,
like, that's-
alphabetized, even though it's not like 100%, but like A's are with A's, and it's all in particular order. Yeah.
Well, props to you, brother. Definitely a good space for
Thank
sure.
you.
Very comfortable.
Thank you.
So taking it back to sourcing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a fear of the future in terms of physical media being something that's taken away?
So obviously, the industry is going that way, right? Sony is going to be going all digital soon. Xbox is going to be probably completely out of the console business, and they're just going to do digital with their content creating. Nintendo's a little weird just because they've always been little tiny cartridge based stuff. So I don't think that'll ever go away for Nintendo, and they're more handheld based company anyways. Now they're never going to really I don't believe they'll ever do another true home console. It'll always be something that'll be mobile that you can dock for Nintendo. That being said, yes, with large retailers are already removing. Best Buy has already removed their obviously movie sections, Blu-ray, VHS, not VHS, DVD stuff is already gone. Their video game media might be leaving first quarter next year. Target and Walmart are also rumored to be moving away from their physical media stuff first quarter to second quarter next year too. So with the big box stores kind of being removed from that, am I scared of the physical media stuff being available? For right now, no, because all that stuff is fairly new, right? Xbox One and PS4 and up, right? So that market hasn't become a nostalgia-based market yet. We got to wait 10 to 20 years for that age group to be nostalgia for those titles, right? So for the rest of the stuff, I think the community is pretty safe with the physical media stuff because there's an abundance of it, and it's rotating hands, right? Like right now, it's just a big, massive rotation of hands with sourcing and inventory, right? So I'm not afraid of the older stuff, the retro stuff. I think there's always going to be a community that'll have inventory of that stuff. I'm scared of us moving into the future. Say you're a retail store 10 years from now, and that age group, that demographic of buyers now is nostalgia for their stuff. Where are we going to be with the Xbox 360? How much of that is going to be out there? Xbox One, PS4, even PS5 now, and the Xbox Series X, and all that being like most of those games, even though you can get a hard copy, you need updates and stuff to be able to play them. So even then, you get a hard copy of it, you can't play it unless there's an update. So I'm afraid for us to continue that nostalgia base with this demographic now that's growing up now, 10 to 20 years from now, just because there's really not going to be anything physical for them to want, because most of these kids are being programmed to want digital. So they're not going to look for a physical copy of anything, right? Everything will be ROMs that they'll be able to upload on a computer, on whatever type of system we have moving into the future. So that's where I'm scared, where the brick and mortar stores will be okay with the nostalgia based stuff. But again, that demographic is going to be old. They're going to be in their 50s and 60s now. Are they going to still be collectors? Honestly, at that point?
I believe that NES will be the new Atari soon.
Yes, and you're completely right, because that demographic of collectors is going to be old, and they're not going to want to spend their money collecting old stuff. And then again, that's where I'm afraid that that demographic is going to be, we're going to start losing buyers in the near future, just because of the way the industry is going with digital. So,
and why do you think these big companies, for example, PlayStation is releasing the PS5 Pro, all digital?
Correct.
Yes, there is an accessory where you could buy the disc drive separate,
yes,
which
correct.
is what, like $200?
Yes, correct. Which is going to make that console very expensive.
$900, not including taxes.
Correct.
Paying close to $1,000. Why do you think these big companies are focusing more on digital media than physical?
It's real easy. The cost. There's a cost to making physical copies, right? Where they are selling the digital copy for the same price. Why make a physical version of it if you can sell the digital? Only sell the permission to the product, right? For the same dollar amount. It makes no sense for them to have a print run of 200,000 games at whatever cost it may be, even though CD-based stuff is pretty cheap now to produce. But why even go with the trouble of doing that when they could just sell digital and force everyone to go digital and sell it for the same price? So that's where I think that the end user is going to have to, if we don't fight that, we're always going to pay full price for digital, where we shouldn't be paying full price, because you don't have true ownership of the game when you're going digital.
Right. Once you're out of Wi-Fi, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, you can't play it.
Your account? Do you own this product?
Correct.
No.
You're going mobile, you can't play it unless you have some type of streaming service. So, and at the end of the day, you're not the true owner of the product. It's not yours.
Correct. They can just remove it from the marketplace.
You lose your account password and you can't get your, like, there's so many variables to it, like, that people haven't thought about, that things can go wrong. And what if they just get tired? They go out of business and Microsoft says, you know what, we're done with it. We're going to shut down all the servers. We're just done with it. What happens then?
I mean, they close a 360 shop.
Correct.
Only way to get our games is
physical now.
Physical.
Correct.
And us small business owners thrive on physical media. We can't sell digital products.
Correct. We can't. And you can't trade in digital product, which that's what I try to preach to the younger generation. Like my son, all his friends, like they know I'm a store owner. They're like, Coach, can you get me, like, because I'm a coach too. So they're like, can you get me this or that? I want a digital. I'm like, kids, like, if you don't like the game, 5 minutes into the game, you can't trade it in. At least with a hard copy, you still have some value to owning that game. So again, they're just being programmed to buy digital. Everything is going digital, and it's just scary for a business owner. Like I said, not now, not in the immediate future, but for this demographic growing up 10 to 15, 20 years from now, like the brick and mortar stores, there's no physical nostalgia that people are going to want to collect.
And another concern I have, right, because it's not just about physical media, but it's the quality of the games that we're getting today.
Correct.
These games come out every year, either a lot of downloadable content, right? That's all digital, of course. But these games get these remakes, these re-releases, or they just come out every year. And they're kind of getting rid of these smaller game developers.
Correct.
which are also only going digital for these indie games inside the
Correct.
digital shops. But do you think that these games coming out today are going to affect their valuability, like their valuable, nostalgic effect 20 years from now? Because, who's going to buy a Call of Duty 20 years from now? And you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah, so I
garbage.
mean, it's tough, right? Like, the video game industry is in a weird situation now because there are so many developers and there is so much coming out right now. Like, you can't even keep up. I don't care if even if you're a true collector, you can't keep up. Like, unless I'm watching some of the guys on YouTube to like the game reviews and stuff like that, like I can't keep up. And like most of the cooler stuff that I find is from those guys because they're promoting an indie developer game or a third party developer. Like I feel like there's just so much being released right now. It's tough to keep up. Obviously everyone knows the AAA titles, but there is so much great that is being overlooked just because there is the market is so flooded with new games now and so many developers that I think there might be a market, there might be a little influx in market in like those weird, like not just limited run stuff, but like those indie developers that actually have physical titles that don't have an update, like that don't need an update because the title is the whole game. Right. There is no need for an update. I think there is going to be a really cool resurgence at some point of people searching for those weird off the wall indie titles, the third party developers that really don't get any love right now just because the market is flooded with so much stuff. I think we might see something with that little niche group of developers that everyone's going to be like, I never knew about that game. How can I get that game? Oh, I can only get it physically. I can't even get it digitally because they never uploaded it anywhere. That's where I think we'll probably see a resurgence in the future with those titles.
A lot of these games today are also server based.
Correct.
Once those servers are closed,
it's over.
That's it. Friday the 13th at the end of this year. That's it.
Gone.
Done.
Yeah, which was I thought it was a pretty decent game. Like they got love.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It got love, but it's one of those things that that's the world we live in now, right? Like you don't know when a developer is, even with Microsoft backing so many big developers now, we don't know where, if that developer makes a run of 3 to 4 bad, big title games, right, where they're dumping millions upon millions of dollars, we don't know if Microsoft would be like, we're just going to shut down this developer. It just didn't make sense for us to keep it open. And then we lose that, right? Like, it's like when with Halo, right? When it switched over from Bungie, like,
yep, no more couch co-op.
Yeah,
the replayability
of the game is gone. Yeah, it's gone. So it's one of those things where we're gonna see it more and more, just because developers are not gonna make the money that they invested into making some of these things, and they're gonna go away. Which will, I don't know, maybe it pushes digital people to come back to physical media. It might help us. Who knows? Only time will tell.
100%. Do you see consoles completely disappearing eventually? And just PC based?
I think consoles, there will always be consoles. I think standalone PCs, desktop PCs, even like the high-end PCs, not everyone can afford those, the real good gaming PCs. A budget PC, yes, but if you really want to game, like really want to game and have a really nice, you're talking about 1,500 plus, right, for a PC. Even though the prices of consoles have gone up, it hasn't reached that point where you feel comfortable buying a PC over a console, right? So I think there might be, with Xbox kind of already hinting at leaving, Nintendo will always have some type of console. I would find it hard for PlayStation to be completely removed from the console like market, but who knows? Unless they move to like a PC base, like where PlayStation now creates like console slash PC where you can always upgrade it with new PlayStation parts, which I think that might happen at some point where PlayStation does a new like graphics card, like, and it's a graphic, a specific PlayStation product where it only works with PlayStation. You can only upgrade it with PlayStation with Sony product. I think that might be something that they might move into where people aren't stuck buying a console every time a new generation comes out. You can just upgrade what you buy. You buy the base model, and then every 5 years or every so often, you can buy a new Sony graphic card that goes into that PlayStation, Sony, whatever they may call it, system that you can always upgrade but never have to buy a true new console. With the other stuff, like the retro stuff is always going to be around, I think, for consoles, but the newer stuff, I think we will see maybe a flip where it's not true PC, because I think PCs are just, unless they can come down on price, I don't think it'll be a mainstream thing where people are just buying gaming PCs. But if Sony does something where, like I said, they create something where you can always buy new Sony parts and upgrade, I think there might be something there with that for Sony.
And I believe that the prices are like going up a lot for these games.
Correct.
Why? Well, do you think that they're gonna continue to go up as these prices these consoles get more expensive?
So, just to give you some like history, right? So, like if you go back to even the early '90s with NES, right? Like people were still buying titles at $50 to $60. So the pricing of video games haven't really skyrocketed. It feels that way just because there's so many releases. You're buying more now than you were then, but the pricing of games hasn't really drastically increased over that time period. If you took inflation, then really we should be paying over $100 per game. And I know there's some stuff with like if you're getting the promo with the release with Legacy 1 or whatever it may be, you are paying $100 or something, but that's for the extra items, right? But $65 to $70 compared to $50 almost 30 years ago, that price jump isn't really crazy. I know some people are going to go crazy on me on that, but when you really look at it, it feels a lot just because of the quantity of games we're buying now, right? We're going to a game store and we're buying 3 titles instead of just 1, right? Because back then we were just allowed to buy 1. The money wasn't there, so you were just buying 1. It was always high to buy a video game. It was just we were buying 1 at a time, so it didn't feel that way. Now we're just, when you release dates, there's 3 new games releasing all bangers at the same time. So you're forced to buy 3 games instead of just 1 at a time, So that I feel that they're crazy prices, yes, but when you really look at what we were paying for NES, Sega, PlayStation, they were all $50, Until they went on sale, it was either $50 or $60. So pricing hasn't skyrocketed yet. And again, with them going digital and not having physical, how much higher can they go up on a game?
Yeah.
We'll see.
As we have our businesses and we have to adapt to the market as quick as we can, do you see like in like 5-10 years we're going to be getting nothing but Xbox One and PlayStation 4 games eventually, right? Do you think it's going to be harder, like even more difficult than it is today to get the products that we get in now?
Yeah, obviously, because the retail public is a lot smarter, right? I mean, anyone can go on eBay, anyone can jump on price charting and see the prices of stuff, right? So negotiating deals in the future is definitely going to be tough. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where you can pay $1 or $2 like we were paying a while back for stuff, right? Like $360 for the longest time. You can buy 100 games for $20. It was like, like now you go to a tag sale or a flea market or wherever it may be, and close to eBay prices, you can probably negotiate 30% sometimes if you're lucky. But the retail public is so knowledgeable and everything is at your fingertip to look up pricing. It's going to definitely make it tougher for us to be able to buy and resell. it's definitely coming to a point. But again, we gotta wait for the Xbox One, the PS4, for those to become nostalgia-based systems. So I think we got a good 10 years before that demographic starts looking for those games. Those are the games that they grew up on. So I think we're good for a little bit before it starts because now we can still pick up PS4 and Xbox One pretty cheap. But I think there will be a time when those kids grow up and they want to go back to their nostalgia. It's going to be definitely tough to pick up those games.
Why do you think sourcing in the East Coast is difficult? Because myself, it is difficult. Even at flea markets, there's a lot of competition.
Correct.
A lot of people are becoming more aware that these video games are a collector's market at this point. It's a novelty.
Correct.
Why do you think it's just difficult for us to source on this side?
Obviously, for the East Coast, for one, the video game mecca for the United States is the West Coast, right? So everything flows in from the West Coast, even getting stuff from Japan, which is the true mecca of video gaming, right? So everything flows from Japan to the West Coast, and then it trickles to the East Coast. Even on releases, all the developers are mostly on the West Coast. So I think for the East Coast, just because the East Coast, if it's the total, so like it's the total opposite for toys, right? So people feel that toys on the East Coast is much easier to find than on the West Coast. Most of the toy developers, Mattel, Toy Biz, are on the East Coast. Like, so it made it easier for us to get toys because that base is here. Hasbro, that base is here. So with video games, it being on the West Coast, trickle down effect, just like everything. I feel like even with styles, sneakers, everything trickles down from the West Coast and gets to us, and we're always the last ones on almost everything. I think just because that market, that industry started there, and the base of everything for video games is out there, I think it just made it easier for the West Coast. On the East Coast, I think for one, there aren't many of us. Even though it seems like when you're competing with a bunch of people. If you were on the West Coast, you're competing with 2 to 3 times more people buying the same stuff that you're buying than we are fighting here. So it's one of those things where I think the East Coast is it's a toy base heavier than video games, and that's why it's made it more difficult. And there isn't a ton of us. Like even in Connecticut, like solid video game stores, we probably in the state of Connecticut that you could say that are solid video game stores, you can count them 5 to 10 maybe in the whole state, so it's one of those things where there isn't a ton of us out here,
Right, everyone's sticking to online selling. So.
Correct. Everyone's an online reseller. There aren't a ton of brick and mortar, so it makes it tough. And again, we're seasonal for the flea markets. We don't have a ton of indoor flea markets, right, where that stuff still continues to go throughout the year. So we're very seasonal. Like if you don't hit the tag sales heavy and you're not hitting the flea markets and the swap meets throughout that May to October period, it's going to be the winter months are very tough to source because you're hoping that you can score on Facebook Marketplace, Macari, or whatever it may be, right? Or you're crossing your fingers people are walking in through your store if you have a brick and mortar. For sure.
And that's why you have to really emphasize buy, trade, sell.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So I push it a ton. I mention it to everyone when they're at the store. Like, don't feel like you don't have anything good to trade in. I take almost everything. I try to keep my inventory, like I mentioned before, 2 to 3 months worth of inventory, just like if I'm in the busy season, like the holiday season, just because I need to have that safety net just in case there is a dry spell, So there's a ton of stuff that doesn't make it to the store just because I'm keeping it in storage and waiting for the right time to put it out.
And having all that inventory and storage, how do you plan on expanding this business?
So luckily enough, I 1 year in, I am moving from a 700 square foot store, brick and mortar store, over to when it's all said and done, because we've built some walls and stuff. So like floor space is going to be about 2,500 square feet. of square foot of floor space. So I am moving to a larger location, which will be nice. I love the boutique style of this smaller location. But customers are usually in and out, right? There's no time to really like stick around and have conversations, enjoy the store, right? Where that new location is going to be I'm trying to create a destination where you can come in, spend an hour just fooling around in my arcade area that I'll have there, or sitting on the couch and playing a NES or a Super Nintendo or a Sega that I'll have set up, you know, and I'll have video game kiosks there, where I want it to be a destination where it's just not something that you come in, go buy, and then you're right out. I want people to stay. Yes, I want you to buy 100%. I'm here to make money, but I also want it to be like when they leave my shop and they go home and they're at a family gathering. Oh, you ever hear about Cruz'N Retro? Man, they have they're not just a nostalgia-based store. They have arcade there. You can make it a destination style where you can spend an hour there and just like hit a little bit of that nostalgia. Like if you need a nostalgia fix, you can go there and get that. Even if you don't buy nothing, you can see stuff and interact with stuff that's gonna tickle that nostalgia, those memories of childhood growing up, you know. Right. So again, lucky enough where I'm moving to a larger location. Luckily the store is doing well, where it takes care of itself now, and there's no more personal investment going into the store just because it carries itself. It's, you know, it's nerve-wracking opening up a new location because new area, it's 20 minutes out. Got to build the regular customer base there, and you know, being a larger location, overhead is a little bit different, but advertising, right? So I'm gonna have to spend advertising dollars now to get people into that new location. So expanding has worked great. Not sure that I'm gonna expand into the online yet, because you need a dedicated person to do that, and right. I feel like we're not there yet where I can hire a full-time dedicated person. I have signed up for like Whatnot, and I'm already an approved seller there. So I might run some from the store just to kind of test the waters a little bit, you know, but I don't have to have a dedicated, I can do that myself, run an hour show, you know, around the store or do whatever there. So yeah, it's generated enough where this place is good, and now I can move on to the larger location and make it. What I really wanted to do from the get-go was make it into a destination where you can spend some time at the store.
When do you forecast you opening up that store? Do you have any?
So with everything, right? Like when you have a blank slate, the place that we grabbed was a blank slate. So we had to build some walls, put electrical in, pulling permits, getting the fire marshal in. It took some time. So I was planning to open up late September, early October. Obviously, pulling permits took a while. So my target time frame, which it still might be a little bit tough, is right before Thanksgiving to open up, so I can have that store up and running and kind of have that jump start of the holiday shopping and help that store just kind of launch pad off of the holiday sales. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's the target date, like right before Thanksgiving on the new location.
And like, of course, you're working on that new store. That's the next step. But like for you, like, what's your end game in terms of owning Cruz'N Retro? Yeah,
so Cruz'N Retro, my end game is obviously I'm building this for retirement. I don't ever want to be, I don't ever want to overwhelm myself with work, right? Going like, this is something that I want to build for retirement. So my end game, comfortably, I would like to have anywhere between 5 to 10 locations end game, and leave something behind for my kids as a fallback plan. If whatever they decide to do in life doesn't work out for them, they have this to run and profit from. So that's my end game. 5 to 10 locations. I feel like in a centralized area where there aren't too many of us, I think that's perfect volume of store locations, brick and mortar store locations. Obviously, again, that's the end game, that's the vision, but you never know, right? Because we're still really playing off the market. You kind of got to run with what the market. Maybe I only end up having 3 stores and that's perfect, or maybe even just the 2 and it's perfect. I don't know. My end game would be 5 to 10, but I wouldn't be upset if it's only 2 or 3 and that's all I get to, you know. As long as those are successful, I'm happy with it, you know, because it's just something that I'm building for retirement. So I have something to do and I'm not just an old person just sitting around drinking mimosas and at the golf course with my buddies every day. So
it's always good to have something to do. And
yeah,
you know what I mean? You don't want to be stuck on the couch all
correct
day.
exactly.
Yeah, something to work for.
Yeah, I feel like when you sit on the couch all day, you age pretty fast, you know. So this will keep me going where I have something to do every morning. I can jump on the computer, go to the shops real quick, kind of visit, talk to employees, and then move on with the rest of the day. It's family time with the wife or grandkids if I have any at that time, you know. It'll be something that I can do for a certain amount of hours every day and feel like I still have value and importance, right? That's the biggest thing, because I feel like people, when they retire, they don't know what to do with themselves after retirement. And you can only do so much traveling and before you get tired of that too, right? So that's my mindset on this.
So I'm aware that you are creating a YouTube channel, correct?
Correct, yes.
It is
Yes,
called
No Cable Crew.
No Cable Crew.
Yeah.
What inspired you to create your own YouTube channel on top of your business, on top of your day job?
Yeah.
At that.
So it's real cool, right? So you being in this industry, like just being a collector in general, right? You become friends with people. And one of my friends, Alex, which is my partner in No Cable Crew, runs Nostalgia Junkies, which is a podcast that he's been doing for 3 years. And talking to friends, we've always wanted, obviously watching the Pixel Game Squads of the world, the, you know, Game Chasers of the world. East Coast really doesn't have a crew or people just creating that content on the East Coast. We have smaller guys here and there, but not true hunters that go out, hunt, show the content of hunting, right? So we wanted to create something with our crew that would be enjoyable, right? Like something that we can just show people that, you know, that this is possible on the East Coast too, that there are things to like hidden gems, and there are people with cool collections that are on the East Coast. So that was our biggest thing, is trying to promote everyone. So even though I'm a store owner, I want to promote everyone and help the community. So we've been going out and interviewing other stores, visiting other toy stores, and just going on hunts and flea market. We're from flea markets to storage units. I've done, we haven't even released content for that yet, but we've done GameStop manager storage unit, which he had a ton of promo stuff that he's been hoarding for years at his storage unit. So it was just one of those things where it's just passion, right? We just wanted to create something that was going to be fun for us, because we like what we've seen with other content creators, and we just wanted to show that the East Coast has that too, and we can you know, show that part of the industry to everyone, that East Coast does have video games. It does have some really cool stuff out here. So that was our biggest thing in building No Cable Crew. It was one of those things where we just wanted to show the world what the East Coast is all about too, you know?
No, for sure. It's the fun thing to do. I mean,
yeah.
You're showing off. It's a vlog.
Yeah, correct.
Having fun with it.
Yeah,
you know
just
what I mean?
having fun with it. Just be organic with it. So
For sure. And my final question, right? For new business owners like mine and yours, right? We are the next generation of, I wouldn't say maybe monopolizing, I guess that's like the term for it. But would you recommend anyone that's thinking about doing it, debating on it, with the market kind of being a little iffy right now in terms of sourcing? You know, a lot of people have told me, you're too late. Yeah. You came late in the game. Do you still recommend anyone to get into this entire market?
So here, I do recommend it still, right? Like it is a tough business, but if you have a passion for it, I say, if you have a passion and you have a drive for anything, no matter what it is, jump into it full steam. Don't be scared, because at one point I was scared as well of failure and not being able to be successful. So don't be scared to jump into it. Is it tough? at 100% is very tough. There's a lot of dark days. You've experienced it. There's a lot of dark days. It sometimes is very tough to source. We've done it differently. I have a 9 to 5, right? And this is like my side hustle. You've jumped in it full steam where this is your only source of income. So if you have something that you're doing regularly, keep that and start small. I wouldn't recommend, I wouldn't recommend dropping everything and just doing this, because it takes a lot to do this full time.
Yeah.
And to be successful. A lot of people can do it, but to be successful at it is very tough. So do I recommend it? Yes. Is it tough? Yes. Again, be prepared, because there are a lot of dark times when you're in the video game industry and just in the nostalgia based market, just in general. It's tough. But do I recommend it? If you have a passion for it and you want to do it, do it. If you don't know how to start, man, jump on Dochi's Instagram, YouTube stuff. Jump on Minds. There's so many knowledgeable people that are sharing information on how to be successful in this industry. Just watch, grow your knowledge of product, because there's still opportunities out there. And it amazes me, some of the people that have jumped in after me and how successful they are. Just sourcing in general, it's unbelievable. So is there an opportunity out there? Yes. Just have a plan. You got to have a plan if you're going to do it. It's planning.
I agree 100%.
Yep.
People probably call me crazy for jumping in it like that, but it's less of a financial burden since I do it from home.
Correct.
So it works more so for me than a lot of people who just want to like open up a brick and mortar with the lack of inventory. But you did it the right way. You seized the opportunity, you took it, and clearly you're doing something right, because this is still here. Yep. And you're about to open up location number two.
Yeah.
So that's good for you, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And for those who are interested in coming here, where are you located?
So we are at 3011 Main Street, Glastonbury, Connecticut. Right next to the Burger King. I always tell everyone, right next to the Burger King. My new location will be at 500 East Tocqueville Road in Vernon, Connecticut. And like I said, opening date will be, hopefully target date is right before Thanksgiving.
Guys, I will link all his Instagram info in the description. Be sure to check him out. Follow No Cable Crew as well. Subscribe. New channel. Tons of fun. Appreciate you for your time, brother.
Thank you for reaching out and interviewing me, man.
For sure.
I appreciate it.
Definitely worth it.
Thank you.